Hello, and welcome to MRA's 5-Minute HR Feed, the podcast where we share quick and practical information. In the time it takes you to go grab a cup of coffee, you'll gain insights into hot topics and pressing HR issues. I'm your host, Nicole Morehouse, and we're glad you're listening. Before we start, here's our usual disclaimer that the information being shared is not and should not be considered legal advice. Now let's dive into our topic. Welcome to this episode of our 5-Minute HR Feed. I'm your host, Nicole Morehouse. This episode is part 2 of a 2-part series on internal investigations. If you didn't catch part 1, don't worry. You can find it wherever you follow MRA, such as our website, newsletters, and social media posts. And even without part 1, this episode is still going to be full of helpful information and guidance. We're welcoming back our SME on this topic, investigations, Maria Monteagudo. Maria is part of our HR services team and an internal investigation SME. Maria, during episode 1, we covered some pre-investigation basics. Today, our goal is to help our listeners be prepared for before an issue or a complaint arises. And we're spending our time on scheduling and conducting interviews with the complainants, accused, and witnesses. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you. And if you could let us know, go into some details and offer some guidance on what we need to be prepared to do.
Thank you, Nicole. I think, one of the most important things that you can do to prepare for that is when you are going to take the time to interview the complainant, really find the right time, the right place, the right environment for that complainant to feel safe. And that he or she can tell you the story that they need to tell you. I think it's important for them to feel comfortable. It should be a private location. It should be a location that is not seen by everybody in the company. They should not have to feel like people are going to be asking them questions about what's going on. You may want to think about doing it at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. Find a place and time that is going to minimize the disruptions. You need to think about, do you want to have a note taker so that you can focus on the interview questions and the information that complainant or the witnesses are giving you? Having a note taker gives you the ability to document the information that you are hearing and collecting, and really gives you the ability to focus on what to ask next. Because as you know, you're going to prepare a number of questions going into the interview, but the moment the complainant starts talking about what happened, you're going to have a lot of follow-up questions, and those follow-up questions are probably more important than the original questions. So I think considering having a note taker is something that is going to strengthen the documentation that you will need to prepare your report or prepare your findings. The difference between preparing the questions and not asking those questions and allowing the person to tell you a story, I think it depends. I think it depends on how comfortable the witness or the complainant or the accused are in terms of answering those questions and telling the story. For a complainant, I think it's very natural for them to tell a story from the beginning to the end, and then go into all kinds of different scenarios of what happened, when it happened, how they felt, how the people made them feel. And if they want to tell you a story, I don't think you should stop them. I think you should allow them to tell the story, and then follow up with specific questions about the what, the who, the when, and the how. Another thing to think about is whether you should require a written statement, especially from the complainant. You don't want to create a barrier for the complainant by asking them to prepare a written statement if they are not comfortable writing what happened and putting that forward. But I think, if the person has the capability to put something together in writing, sort of documenting what happened, I think it would be really important to have that, because you can use that in your interview with that person. And who are your witnesses? Not everybody and their mother is going to be a witness. It's got to be somebody who has direct knowledge of what happened, either because they were there and saw it, or because they were there and heard it. I think minimizing the number of people that you have to talk to as part of a personnel investigation is important. You want to be thorough and you want to be complete, but defining who a real witness is really important. Many times we will say, I want you to talk to A, B, and C, but those people don't really have any information relevant to the allegations. When to notify the individuals is also important. The closer you are to the interview process, I think is better. But if you have to take some intermediate interventions, if you have to take some measures to prevent the behavior from happening again, you may have to notify those individuals earlier in the process. Those are some of the things that you need to think about in preparing for interviews, both the complainant, the witness, and the accused.
That was phenomenal, Maria. I mean, you've really helped demonstrate how preparation, and thinking about things pre-investigation are extremely important, and that planning ahead is a critical step in the investigation process. And I'm not sure if you agree with me, but not everyone has experience in investigations, right? Like, this is not an everyday occurrence at a company.
That's correct. And, MRA, does have a lot of experience conducting investigations. And I think it's something that we can share information, share resources, and help companies do the work when it comes to the investigations.
I agree. For our listeners, if you need additional assistance or guidance, our teams are definitely here to help. We have resources as well. But our HR services team offers support services. You can find out more information if you go to our website, www.mranet.org, or you could call 800-488-4845 toll free and reach out for assistance. Thank you again, Maria, for your insight into these pre-investigation considerations. We really appreciate you joining us today.
You're welcome.
All right, for our listeners, thank you for listening. Look for us next time. Find us where you normally follow MRA, our website, newsletters, and social media. See you then. Thank you for listening to MRA's 5-Minute HR Feed. Be sure to follow and connect with us for more podcasts and updates. If you're a member and have questions, you can always connect with MRA's 24/7 HR hotline by emailing info.now@mranet.org or by calling 866-474-6854.